Okay, well, good evening, people, and thanks for joining us for another episode of Get to Know an MD. And today I'm with the remarkably vibrant and totally not at all bonkers Zoe Kennedy. We had a conversation before this, so there's a reason. But is just a phenomenal firelight in a room and does beautiful music with a lot of people, which she's going to tell you about now. But yeah, go on, Zoe. Tell us about the choirs and the music you run.
Oh, no, pre-lockdown. I'm going to tell you, start with the pre-lockdown stuff because,
Yeah.
so pre-lockdown, I run South London Singing Mamas. So we gather any women, actually. They don't have to have kids, but if you have kids or have babies, they can bring them with them. We kind of ignore the kids. They love it. They get an incredible sound bath in the middle, but they kind of get ignored and they get to see their mum doing something for themselves, which is kind of tricky to make space for with a new baby, especially, but also for people that don't have kids or don't want to have kids, but love kids. They have a space where they can be around kids and make music without kind of lurking outside a playground in order to play with children. So it's just a really safe space for women to just be and sing. And I think I'd say that I specialize in people that would say they can't sing. And there's a lot of them used to be in a choir at school they were in a choir before they had children, and they didn't think they could go back to that. So some of them come with a choir repertoire, and that's great. But I try to get the people in that have been kicked out of their school choir when they were 7 and told to mime or told that they can't sing, and they go through their whole life believing that. And then they get to the point where they have a child and they find it in their bones that they have to sing to this small person because of what singing actually is rather than what we're told it is. And so they find themselves singing and they kind of go, I don't know what this is. And it feels quite uncomfortable. So to have a space to draw that out and to give them really simple songs, but layer up for harmonies. And so you spend time nurturing people if they're not so confident and just giving them simple things to do. And then they layer up and they get this kind of opening out of going, I'm part of that sound, when they'd always believed you can't sing, you shouldn't speak, you shouldn't sing. So yeah, I love doing that. So I had 3 different groups running in South London with that, and also Herne Hill Harmony, which is a free for all, anybody welcome community choir, which has now gone online. And I also ran a domestic violence survivors group in Croydon with an incredible organisation called Freedom Together. They ran a 12-week programme to help DV survivors, and it just meeting these women, they were fabulous. They were so inspirational, so strong. Some of the stuff they've been through was just unthinkable, but they've been silenced in so many ways. And so to get a group of people together and watch them rediscover their voice, like really unconfidently in a lot of cases, or really loud to cover up the fear, and just watch them reclaim their voice and reclaim a softness. It was really emotional work, so it's tread carefully stuff, but really, really, really beautiful. And just to kind of hold them in that. So Lou Moultrie, who ran that, got me involved in that. And she had dancers coming in as well to do body work with them, just to free up, reclaim their body, reclaim their voice. So that was really great. What else did I do? I ran pop-up festival choirs, getting big groups of people at a festival that think they can't sing again, quite often. Just get them singing. And like at Shambhala last year, we had a big tent and people kind of drifting in to listen. And as they kind of drifted in, we kind of got them into the circle, and it grew and grew, and it ended up with all the guys that had put up the tents, that where it kind of came out, and they were on the periphery, and I got them in and ended up with all this crew on the outside joining in. And we do a big one at Latitude Festival as well. And yeah, so yeah, lots of that. I've really missed that this year. I've really missed my festival season, being outside for the whole summer. We usually do 8 festivals over the 2 months, so it's quite bonkers. What else do I do? I've started writing songs. That's been fun. So for my choirs. So I've been doing Songline Project with Singing Mama's Choir nationally, and so we've been doing, before Christmas, it was every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, just a half hour in the morning online, free, like a sonic pick-me-up, and different choir leader every time. So lots of Natural Voice Network choir leaders. I'll explain a bit more about what that is later if anyone doesn't know, but people coming on and teaching a song just to have people get through their day with a song, and they can play the video that you record to go with it to sing the harmonies. So we've been doing that. I did one yesterday actually with one of my songs. So yeah, I'm putting together a songbook for next year. And one of my songs has gone into the Singing Mamas Choir songbook that has been released this year, and all the proceeds for that go into the National Singing Mamas Network. We're a community interest company, so it goes to help perinatal mental health choirs, and there's lots of different areas, people with facial palsy, trying to get them to sing again. So yeah, busy.
Well, yeah, for the first time ever, forgot my own name. Amazing. I mean, that's such meaningful work, and it's great that you straight out the gates, we've gone to that place of. Luckily, we're speaking to our audiences are people who this is what we all forget sometimes, the worth of what we do, and those stories are great. Although at a whole domestic violence level, that's a whole other set of stories. That's impressive. And I'd love to know more about Singing Mamas as an organization. I don't know enough, but it's great that they're out there doing that work, and so good to meet you there. I do miss the idea of the festivals.
Yeah, oh man, I've really missed festivals this year.
But
yeah, the Singing Mamas thing, when within South London, I set up a bursary fund a few years ago now, so that there's bursary places in all of my groups for anyone that are DV survivors, or people with postnatal depression, or anyone that's really struggling at the moment. I have bursary places as standard in all of my groups of just going, I'll have at least 10% of my choir as places for people that wouldn't come, and just really putting the message out there that somebody has already paid for you. You have a place here, and you don't, that it's not something you need to feel bad about. You need to keep singing. It's keeping me sane-ish during all this lockdown, because I'm still running my Singing Mamas group online, and that's been really amazing. I've consolidated them into one group, but we've had quite a few people with brand new babies. I can't even imagine what it's like to have a brand new first time baby during all this without your support group around you. So yeah, it's been really, really like a lifeline for them. And also my Herne Hill Harmony Choir is now just harmony online. I think we're doing week 36 this week, and it's been great. Like, I have no idea how people heard about it. Nobody's from Herne Hill in it now. So we've got a lady that joins from Russia, who kind of messaged when we changed the clocks, going, it's 11 p.m. till midnight. I don't know if I can make it. And then she still showed up. We've had people in Amsterdam and Colorado and people from all over the UK who I'd never met to sing with. But the other side of this, we know each other so well now that the other side of this, I'm going to be hopping around running choirs and pop-up things in places so that I can get to sing with them in the flesh.
Amazing. I mean, that's a lot of singing, that's a lot of choiring. So how do you land up running choirs? What was that journey?
Well, I'm a performer. I trained as an actress, and before I had my kids, I was a jobbing actress doing lots of TV and theatre. And then after having the kids, I run my own theatre company called Twice Shy Theatre, which, don't look it up with children, it's adult. But it's a very dark puppetry company, so I'm still running that. I also do improvised healing storytelling with my company called the Shadow Travellers. And at the moment, I'm still doing voiceover work and stuff. So I have a very performative background, and I've done musicals and stuff before, but always had this sense when I got cast for something that somebody was going to show up and go, what's she been cast for? There's just such a lack of knowledge in my musical ability that was planted quite early on, I think. But didn't stop me doing it, but just sat there like a little gremlin going whenever I was doing stuff. And so I had it in my head that I couldn't find harmonies, and of course, whatever you tell yourself, that becomes your experience. But I knew that wasn't true at the same time, and so I did what I tend to do when I think that there's something that I can't do, which is blag it. So I thought if the way to get over this was to lead rather than go and be all nervous about this. So to train as a choir leader, so I did the Singing Mamas choir training and then just start a group. And so any of my own insecurities would have to be silenced by the holding process of the group. So it started off with about 20 people in Herne Hill. My first session going, I think I had 6 songs of going, oh God, if I run out of them, I have nothing, just simple 4-part harmonies and just layering them up. And now I have a little book of songs that I don't know where they all go. There's a Rolodex in my head somewhere. There must be hundreds, each one with 3 or 4 parts. And none of them necessarily that complicated, but that's a lot of parts. But yeah, I think that the Natural Voice Network really freed it up for me. The idea of, because when you train, when you do musical training and it's all about the notes, I play piano and I play the flute, and I've sung in big choirs. I used to be in Leeds Philharmonic, and we did Carmina Burana and the Messiah, and so I can follow music, but I was always so aware of what I couldn't do with it, because I didn't ever feel like, however good I got, I didn't ever feel like I'd be good enough, because you see some people that are just like, wow, it's their lifeblood. And I don't have that connection with written music. And so I'd shut that off. Whereas the Natural Voice Network method, I mean, I now do use scores for most of the songs, but to start with, I didn't need to. I could literally sidestep all that, learn everything by ear. And then once I'd got rid of that gremlin that was like, you can't do this, I was like, oh, now the score is going to be really useful of just going back, but it's a different route in, which made a big difference for me.
I mean, the way you set that up makes me want to go straight to, well, you were already doing lots of performance. So what personal, I guess, things have you conquered in order to feel? But you said, I guess, and you said it very beautifully. The act of holding the room up means that you're so focused on that you're not thinking about the fear in your head. But I guess what things do you know or feel like? Because you got rid of the gremlin. And how did you do that? So what
made friends with the gremlin?
Gremlins for tea. I like how. What do you feel like you've actually maybe you're still fighting the battle, but what do you feel like you've conquered to get to be the person out front?
Whenever I have that, I don't think I can do this come up, it kind of fires off my rebellious streak of going, says who, and so it's a familiar process with various things in my life. I tend to kind of see something that I'm afraid of and run towards it going, rather than scooting in the opposite direction. So it was a little bit of that. But in terms of what I needed to overcome, it feels like there's been a really organic shift, because I've been doing it for years now, and to start with, those 6 songs were enough, and the people that I was bringing in weren't confident, and so but I had it at the beginning that I had to get everything right, and I had to kind of be the leader and so yeah, I've given all that up of just going, any time you get something wrong, or you're going to go, that doesn't sound like, okay, let's start again, let's build it up slowly, let's work out where. So rather than just tell them where the problem is and say, well, this section isn't working, I'll say, can we hear what's wrong? And so like building their sense of musicality in the same way as I'm building my own, so that these people can really feel like they can sing, and they can feel how music fits together. They don't need to look at words and notes, that they get to feel how it fits together. So it means that people start to self-correct rather than being waiting to be told what to do, or you're right or you're wrong. I won't ever kind of go, ooh, you're really flat. We'll kind of do an exercise of just holding a tone and trying to just say, anybody that's different, really like scooch up to the person next to you, try and find that tone and then lifts and falls, and just trying to just do it all really softly and take the judgment away from it. And also just in terms of how people are breathing, because people tend to come quite nervous and their breath tends to be like up here, and their voice coming from here, and that's so close to your ears, that's always going to be judgment. And so it gets tense, and then all of that starts to, so just reframing all that of just grounding the feet. And I do a lot of stuff with like imagining that they're a tree and their roots are going out through their feet and their core is the trunk. What it ends up sounding like is kind of irrelevant. That's my job, not theirs. Of all the blossoms and the leaves are lovely, but what's important is this strength and this, like, so that they imagine that there's a channel of air going up, so it doesn't get stuck here. And this is just the kind of bit that flowers. And that really shifts things.
So your personal journey was that you realized you were a tree.
Yeah, why not?
Great. All right, cool.
It wouldn't be the weirdest personal journey that I've had.
So you have come to places where you've gained the space and the confidence in which to give them more space and more confidence. Because I know there are a lot of us, it was nice that you said at the beginning the 6 songs were enough. I know there's a lot of us who, I must get it right. The other thing you said, I must get it right. And actually, it's an amazing space to let yourself into where you don't have to be responsible for everything in the world, and they can grow, and their moment of realization is more important. We should, that's a whole other interview and a whole other conversation and a whole other debate for another day. But coming back to you, could you maybe, like, with all this amazing work, could you maybe, for you, 2, maybe 3 highlights of this work that you've been doing?
My very first choir at Latitude Festival in the clearing in the forest, of like putting up my banner, and it had gone in the program, and I was like, I hope 4 people come so I can do all 4 parts of all the songs that I've got. And then about 60 people came, and it was such a mixed group, and it was so much fun. Everybody just had so much fun. And I did another one the next day, and all of them came back and brought their mates, and it was just something about being in the forest, singing in the trees. At one point it started hammering it down, and I switched out the songs and did The River by Coco Love Alcorn. So it was about water heal my body, water heal my soul. And everyone was just like, yeah, why not? We're at a festival, glitter everywhere. It was just amazing. And then when I went back the next year, there was a guy that had cerebral palsy, was there with his partner, and he came up and he just said, I'd never sung before I came to that workshop last year. And now my partner and I go to our local choir every week, and I can't imagine my life without it. And I just went, oh, that's it. Of just like, find your community, find your choir and sing. It's a birthright that we've lost. So yeah, definitely Latitude. There's so many. After the terror attack in Streatham last year, was it this year? Or timing's hazy because of lockdown. No, I think it was the beginning of this year. Feels like a long time ago now. One of my choir went, there must be something we can do. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, okay. And so we did this event called Streatham Sings in Unity. And I used the St. Leonard's Church, and I just invited the whole community to get together and learn 3 songs. And then we were going to process down the streets of Streatham and end up outside the Odeon Cinema near where the guy got shot, and reclaim the streets with song. And the church was full, and this massive stream of people singing in the middle of my community was just, yeah, really moving. And people that would never have come to one of my choirs, just everybody there. The local MP turned up, Sadiq Khan came along later in the day, and it was just a really nice show of what song can do in the community, of like cleansing the streets and making people feel united rather than separate. It's kind of love over fear. And I think music is a really good tool for that. Yeah, and my first ever domestic violence group would definitely be one. I thought it was going to be kind of harrowing, and it was one of the most joyous, crazy. They were amazing. I haven't laughed so much in a group for a long time, and I just came out going, "Oh yeah, I've just got to listen. I can't go in with any expectations of anything." And the next session might be everybody in tears, but this session and these people, I've just got to show up and listen and not have any preconceptions. And they said at the end, I said, I will never record you singing because you might listen back and have judgment. So, because they were going, oh, we could record this because they never heard themselves sound like that. And I said, oh, I guess I could record one and in another session just for this group. It wouldn't go outside the group. And one girl was like, I want it as my ringtone. And I was just like, of just like having people find joy in unexpected places.
I mean, I think we might be done with the interview right there. That's nailed. Like, we're good. I mean, it's beautiful to hear you voicing all the things that, are the reasons that we do what we do. And as we discussed before we started the interview, it's difficult to sometimes get society to understand the value of this thing. But it's nice that you've talked about reclaiming a birthright, which is something that's so important in the way that we all do this. So, I mean, I had other questions because I feel like you seem so connected to it and so exuberant about the whole thing that I wonder, with some of the things you have said, do you still have anything that scares you about being up front?
Yeah, there's still now that I've made friends with being up front, and I've made friends with big groups, and I'm fine with all that.
And your gremlin.
Yeah, he'll sit there, but I'll just pat him. It's fine. But and I've got plenty of songs. I don't doubt my capability anymore. And so now I've started to use scores and gone, oh, this is easier. Great. And so I'm still on that journey towards going, if I wanted to get one of my choirs to do Carmina Burana, I could do that. I'm still on the journey towards clearing that block with confidence. But I'll either go there or it won't be the right place for me to go. What I'm doing is, there's nothing wrong with what I'm doing. It's just wherever the journey takes me. But I would like to stretch into more confidence with the written note, and which it's happening anyway because I'm writing songs and I'm having to score them. So next year my songbook comes out. So that's step one, isn't it?
I feel like the point at which you've got people, glitter streaming down their faces, standing out in the forest singing happy songs, I think that's the point at which they really need to be able to read notes to be able to do that.
Interestingly, not all happy songs. Some of the beauty of doing this work is a safe holding for collective grief and a safe holding for expressing whatever it is people need to express. So there's a lot of tears happening in my groups as well, but it's held within the songs and within the groups, and it feels like a safe space to express stuff that we're holding on to. You can't do that when you're singing it. I'd sometimes cry leading, which like very rarely, and I still have the gremlin going, what are you doing? But if like yesterday on Songline, I led a song that I'd written for a friend who died in July, and I got to the last verse and I could hear my voice going, and I just went, if I cry during this is fine. I've explained what this song is and what it means to me. It's just fine. Whilst the gremlin was going, it's not fine. So there's that restriction. But yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that stuff. So last question for today, because thank you again, such great sharing and such honesty. Could we say Zoie goes back in time, Zoie meets Zoie before Zoie's first ever choir rehearsal, what you said when you had the 6 songs and the people who turned up, whatever. What advice would Zoie now have for that Zoie?
Breathe. I guess the main thing is that whatever you allow yourself to experience leading is what you will pass on in your groups. So find the joy in what you're doing, and if it's too complex, pull back until you feel like you can step into it, and it'll happen. But if quite often I swap out the choir songs that I'm doing last minute because I need something specific, and I'll say, okay, I need to sing this one today, so you guys are going to help me today because we're going to do this one. I need to feel this. And I think that that's good. I think that's okay to put your own needs in the holding of the circle. So I'd say have fun. Breathe and have fun. And it doesn't matter if you get it wrong, which is something I will always battle with, you know, because the perfection gremlin is there. But the perfection gremlin also drives me on, you know, so he can be a friend.
To run screaming towards the danger.
Yeah, why not?
All right, good. Okay. Well, listen, Zoe, thank you again so much for your time and sharing all those wonderful stories. And you know, for everybody else, you know, look up Singing Mamas, look up Natural Voice Practitioners Network. Is that the right way
Network,
to say
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yeah, I always went with the P
It
in. I
has a
don't really
real
know why.
root in folk music and in community
Hmm.
choir singing, but it's
Sure. I mean, we could post some links in the interview underneath as we go. And remember our Monday night 9 p.m.s, chill out, get together, vent, share, grow, learn, cry, laugh a lot. And so laughing is good, as Zoe has just said. And then our fortnightly Fridays. But thanks for watching and thanks for being with us. And Zoe, thank you for sharing your story so beautifully.